Now that Lance is registered, it's time to find out exactly what he's cost me, not only just the money, but the time and the mental strain that it takes to get a project like this from in a paddock to registered and being a working vehicle again. It's all written down here, and I've made this as accurate as possible. So if you're looking to do something like this, these are all the little hidden costs that you really need to factor in. Hot tip, guys, if your partner isn't into these projects, don't let them watch it because it gets friggin' expensive. Righto, so I'm going to break this up into a few different sections because there are some different topics of, what actually costs money. There's things you don't even think of when you're doing these projects. One of them is actually finding the vehicle and trying to find one that is close to home. I definitely didn't do that. I found this on the way home from our 4-month trip late last year. Not only just going to pick it up, obviously this came out of a paddock and it wasn't even running. I didn't know if it would even start when I bought it. So not only did we have to drive out there to pick it up, I had to tow a car trailer to go and get it. Now that car trailer set me back $370 through U-Haul. You need a heavy duty 3.5 ton GVM car trailer to be able to tow a car like this back. So not only the car trailer, but the diesel that went into the ute was about $608 at 1600k round trip, roughly 20 litres per 100, $1.90 a litre. That is quite a big cost, $608 just in diesel to go and get it. I took a mate with me. He's a mechanic, he's a good bloke, and I shouted him a meal and a few beers, and he was happy to come on the trip. But you probably do need to take someone with you with a bit of knowledge. Like, look, I've got some car knowledge, and I'm right into cars, but I'm looking at it through rose-coloured glasses because I want to buy it. So take someone else with you that isn't emotionally attached to it and can see it for what it truly is. And look, I don't know if he gave me a bum steer there, but he said, yeah, no, go for it, rip in. He was just happy to have a beer, I think. But no, seriously, Tim, it was really appreciate you coming along, and it is definitely worth taking someone that, isn't attached to it, like I say. So obviously the other main real cost there was the cost of the old truck. And I don't know if I've ever told you guys this, and I don't know as I really want to admit to it. I paid $9,500 for that thing as it was when we first saw it. Which I really, really found hard to swallow, but I just got so emotionally attached to it, I just paid it. I really bargained well because I think the starting price was 10 grand, and my bargaining skills suck, obviously, because I paid 9.5 and I went and got it. So technically it ended up costing me over 10 grand by the time I got it home. But anyway, that's, look, it's one of those things, you think about how much it costs you initially, and then, 3 years down the track, you never worry about it again. You don't think about that initial cost. Ultimately, if it's what makes you happy and it's what you really want, don't get hung up on, 1, 2 or 3 grand, because that's not going to save you. Look, in 3 years' time, you'll never think about it again. So if it makes you happy, just do it. Let's get stuck into the parts. Okay, so once I got it home, I just hit the ground running. I could not wait to work on this thing because I just truly wanted to drive it. That's what this car is all about. I just want to drive it. So this is why we're doing this now. This is from in the paddock to registered on the road. That is what mainly is important to me. I don't care about it not being perfect. Well, in my eyes, it is perfect. But so these are the parts that went into it. So I'm talking wheel bearings, swivel hub kits, seals, uni joints, badges, roof rubbers. I can't even list them. There's so many little parts, like nuts and bolts. I think I spent about $200 or $300 just on bolts. So there's all those little things I've really just put into one cost here. They're really just heavily maintenance items. They're the things you need to do to make it safe, and they really friggin' add up. They do. There's so many little parts that can be quite expensive, and you get this box sent in the mail, and all of a sudden that box is worth about $3,000, and you can pick it up and carry it around. And it's like, how the hell can that be worth $3 grand? But there are so many instances like that when you're building old cars like this. So these are the real numbers. So just for parts and maintenance items, I've spent $6,000 through all 4x4 spares, and these are at full retail cost, guys. Obviously I do get help from sponsors, but all these prices I'm giving you as if you had to pay full stick for them. And I have put a lot into this of my own money, guys. It's not all free. That definitely isn't the case. All 4x4 spares have definitely helped me out. But no, it's not. I don't get everything for free. That's for damn sure. The next real one was probably in order. I got a 60 series front housing. I paid $1,000 for that front housing, and it looked like it'd been sitting in a paddock for the last 20 years. it was a fossil. There was so much work just to get that into it. In that initial $6,000 I just spoke about, there's disc brakes and brake pads and rebuild kits for the calipers, and there's so many little things in that first $6,000. It sounds like a lot of money for not a lot, and kind of is, but you needed all those things. So then obviously $1,000 for the housing, that was crazy as well. So some of the bigger ticket items I've put on this, not everyone will do, so I have sort of split it up a bit. And we've got the locker, the Harrop locker. They're $1,700, they'll set you back. I was lucky enough, I had a mate to help me set it up and put it in. So there's another big cost there just getting that assembled if you needed to. There's around $500 worth of brake lines. All the hard lines in this I replaced. I got them made up in straight lengths, better myself. Okay, so the carbon winch was $1,049, and it is kind of a need if you're going to build a four-wheel drive like this. Okay, so I'm the about whether to replace all the suspension in the old boy, and look, I just got to the point where the running gear really needed to be safe and right, and by the time I replaced a few bushes and the shocks themselves, it was sort of $500 to $1,000 just to do the leaves, do it all. And so that full EFS kit was worth $3,200. I paid $1,500 for those seats, but I did sell my old ones for $650. So, that's not a bad cost at all. So yeah, the seats, $1,500. I was really happy to pay that. Some of the other little costs that accrue, which you just don't think about, and I sort of had to guess a little bit. I reckon I've spent about $600 on paint. And I'm not talking about paint that you put in a gun. I'm talking about rattle cans. I've done the whole chassis. Anything I've done on this car has been with rattle cans, but that has friggin' added up. The only other thing I've done is the tray liner or bed liner paint. I did spray that with a gun, or half painted, sprayed. That stuff's about $75 a litre too. So I'd say $600 is probably on the light side there. Righto, I've allowed $1,000 for miscellaneous. Going to buy a bit of oil to put in the diffs and change the oil in the motor, and ducking down the street to grab a bit of wire or heat shrink, or when I was doing the wiring, it really adds up. I would allow at least $1,000 for those miscellaneous things that you just can't think of. Of course, one of the bigger ticket items on Lance was the wheels and tyres, and they're worth $3,150. Now, there's no money in the wheels, obviously, just being dynamic Sunraysia Steelies. They are quite an economical but strong wheel. But the tyres being that odd size, a 255, 85, 16 in a BF Goodrich KM3, which is a really high quality tyre, are about $500 a corner. So Lance has definitely got some nice boots on him, and I'll make sure I put them to use, otherwise there's no point doing it. In saying that, without those wheels and tyres on him, he just would not look right. I really friggin' love that stance that he's got, and we really appreciate the Wheel Deal coming on board to help us out. Don't forget, guys, if you are looking for wheels and tyres, use the discount code Smart Touring Systems on their website to get 5% off. And 5% is a bit when you're talking about $3,000. So go and check them out. They ship Australia-wide. And again, we really thank those guys for helping us out. One of the other big costs is a lithium battery we have under the bonnet. Now, Deep Cycle Systems helped us out, another one of our great sponsors. I really appreciate that, as it's just been super handy knowing that it's always got a charged battery in it. Been sitting around the shed for 6 months, and just being able to walk up and start it whenever you want and know that it's going to run, it's got plenty of crank and power, has been awesome. And it's just saved me heaps of time, because if it was a lead acid battery, you'd be forever having to charge it. It just wouldn't have done the job that's done. Not only that, now it's ready for accessories. I don't need a DC charger and another battery in the back. I'm going to keep it simple. That'll be enough to run the angle fridge that I got from the tip. Don't forget that, that's going in there shortly. And also start the vehicle. So I think that is a really simple setup, and I really love that design. So $1,000, I'd say that is a real cost, because if you just put a normal lead acid in there, eventually you're going to put an auxiliary battery in the rear and then add all that complexity, and it'll probably end up costing you more. So let's put that $1,000 into the build. Okay, so one other thing I nearly forgot were the headlights. They're $400. I think they're bloody good value from Steady. Means I don't have to run spotties or a light bar on the front. I really like that clean look. And honestly, I think it's a safety thing, so we're definitely adding that in as well. So $400 for those Steady replacement headlights. Don't forget, guys, I did buy this not even knowing whether it would start, and I've got really lucky because it's proving to be quite reliable. The engine gearbox transfer so far has been really good, and I've done around 250 Ks in it now. So I'm really starting to build a little bit of confidence in it. Mind you, if that engine does need rebuilding, you can be looking at $10,000 to $15,000 to get someone else to rebuild a motor for you. Plus gearbox, plus transfer, plus if you want to put a turbo on it, you could really, really pump some money into it if you wanted to or if you needed to. What I have done, if you have seen, is buy an old wreck of a car, exactly the same, with an engine gearbox transfer. I obviously need to start it and see how healthy it is, but at least I've got something there to rebuild whilst this is on the road. So I can take my time on it and not just pump money into it and do it as I get the skills, do it as I get the parts. I would really recommend that. I would recommend doing that from the start. If you buy a project, buy a bomb of a project for parts, sell off the parts you don't need, use the parts you do need. I've done it a bit late in the project, but I already own that old wreck. I've sold enough parts off it, and now I've still got the engine gearbox transfer. So there are bargains out there if you do search around, and it is definitely worthwhile doing. So Lance was ready to go on the road, and then obviously with that comes more cost. Because I needed a blue slip and it's a ute or a commercial vehicle, I had to go to a weighbridge first. So the weighbridge certificate's $50. Then you take it down to get a blue slip. Blue slip was $60. So your red, yellow and green slip and going to the RTA, I'm pretty sure it was about $800 to $900 for that part of it. So yeah, those little costs are the ones you don't think of when you initially buy that project, but they are definitely quite a big cost. Not only that, you can't just go and pump all that money into a car and then not insure it. Insurance was something I was really, really surprised with. Shannon's insured this for $20,000 for a $500 a year premium and a $1,300 to $1,400 excess. Now I chose a high excess because I'm only insuring this for worst case scenario. Obviously it's going to go bush, it's going to get scratches, it's going to get dents. I won't be making claims on that. But if it gets stolen, burns to the ground, or you have a total loss, I am fully insured. Not only that, if you do have a total loss and it's just in an accident, all these parts in this car would be perfect for another build. Worst case scenario, don't worry, this isn't going to happen. They do give you the option to take the wreck back free of charge. So I was really impressed with the Shannon's insurance and how little cost it actually was in the grand scheme of things. Okay, so before we tally up exactly what it costs, let's talk about the time, the mental strain, whether you should do it, and at what time in your life you should do this, because they are friggin' important things. It really does take up a lot of your time to do this. Now, I've estimated, because I didn't keep track of this, but I'm estimating 2 days a week for 6 months to get Lance from the paddock to registered on the road. Now, I've been lucky because we're actually making this part of our Smart Touring Systems business, so I've been able to put some time in this during the week when you'd normally be at work. So for a normal person, 2 days a week for 6 months would probably equate to 2 years of trying to do it of an afternoon or 1 day a month on a weekend. Because if you've got a family, you've got other commitments, you can't spend all weekend working on your car or you'll end up divorced. The time has come. Let's add up and find out exactly what Lance's cost. I really haven't done this. I don't know. I'm adding the numbers up for the first time myself. So I've got the calculator because there's a few to do. I'll be back in a minute. 370, 300, 370, 700, 700, 1200. I don't know if I want to do this because my wife will definitely watch this. So Lance, as he sits there right now, owes us $33,107 exactly. Which is crazy, really. You can buy a pretty nice new car for that. Okay, so we know what he cost us. It begs the question, would he be worth 30 grand to sell? You do see stuff on Marketplace and CarPoint ranging from 5 grand to 50 grand for these old things. And they are in varying states of disrepair or, you know, they're full rebuilds and paint. Look, I think you'd struggle. I think 15 to 20 grand for that would probably pull it up. I don't know. I just feel like it's such a personal car. You'd have to find such a unique buyer that, yeah, it'd be a very hard car to price and sell. So don't do this to flip a car. There's too much work in these things and there's too big a maintenance cost to try and make money out of it. Look, tell me if I'm wrong. Comment below what you think Lance is worth. You won't hurt my feelings. I don't really care because I'm never selling it. But it's a weird thing. It's such a weird thing to think that's just owes me $30,000 considering you can go and buy quite a new vehicle for that kind of money. So I've always wanted to do this. I've always wanted to do a project car and I'm so glad I waited till a time in my life when it was suitable or I could justify doing it and had the time to do it. If I wasn't doing some of this during the week, I don't think I ever would have got there and I don't think I ever would have enjoyed it because I would have felt like it was taking too much time away from my family and doing other things that you're supposed to do on the weekend. You're not supposed to be locked away in your shed working on your car. Look, I do enjoy it, but I don't enjoy it at the cost of my family life. I'm definitely not saying don't do it, guys, but just make the right decision on timing when you take on something like this. We're going to leave it there. Don't forget, you only live once. Go and get that project. Just make sure it's the right time in your life to do it. See you guys.